Tonight, Novak Djokovic facing a new investigation in the border saga after his legal victory triggers a wild night on our streets, and the star's family sends a message to Australia.
200,000 Victorians now in isolation. Trains, trams and buses facing disruption as Omicron cases soar.
Breaking news, Coles introducing limits on toilet paper and painkillers.
Ambulances forced to declare another code red, the health system swamped.
Exclusive, James Hird opens up on his giant decision to return to the AFL.
And later, kids and COVID, what to do if your children test positive for Omicron. Advice for parents from leading medical experts.
Live from Melbourne, 7 News with Mike Amor and Rebecca Madden.
Good evening. Novak Djokovic is facing new questions and a border force investigation into whether he provided false information in his travel declarations to get into Australia.
The tennis star is out of detention and ramping up his preparation for the Australian Open as the federal government decides if it will cancel his visa again.
The boss is back.
Novak Djokovic heads to a more familiar court underneath Rod Laver Arena.
Novak, you happy it's all over and you're free to play in the Open?
5 days of detention end, 6 days out from the Australian Open.
Have you been treated fairly, do you think, Novak?
These the first pictures of Novak since he was detained by Border Force officials at Melbourne Airport. The 20-time Grand Slam winner then hit centre court to make up for lost time. His release last night almost caused a riot among his fans. In Serbia, a Djokovic family news conference with a twist asked if Novak was infectious with COVID at a tennis event there last month. His brother pulled the pin.
Okay, so this press conference is adjourned.
Questions too on Novak's arrival declaration in Australia. He claimed he hadn't travelled the past 14 days. But the Serb was filmed training in Spain on January 2. He flew here just 3 days later, January 5. Giving false information has a maximum jail sentence of 1 year. Border Force is investigating this new angle. Take two, perhaps, for them.
The judge was very critical of the way Novak Djokovic was treated.
And gave that as a reason why his visa should not have been cancelled. Outside his lawyer's city office, cars were mobbed. Pepper spray used, 2 officers hurt. A 27-year-old Hampton man was arrested, likely to be charged with assaulting police. Just hours into freedom, a late-night visit to Rod Laver Arena. Djokovic and his team finally talking tennis, not visas.
We've not sought to convince the Commonwealth Government to allow anyone in.
But if Djokovic stays, he's still here illegally. A prior COVID infection has never been a valid vaccine exemption to enter the country.
Novak Djokovic has won the battle to stay in Australia. Novak Djokovic.
Sport, politics, vaccines, crossing over here with an international audience.
Djokovic won this point, but it's not over.
Last night's Melbourne mob thought Novak was in this car, but it was this man, seen smiling later on the far left of the Djokovic entourage. Despite all that has happened in the past week, wrote Djokovic, I want to stay and try to compete at the Australian Open. Thank you for standing with me through all this. Support too from Venus Williams and NFL great Tom Brady, wishing him good luck. Immigration Minister Alex Hawke needs more time to consider cancelling Novak's visa. Tonight he's thoroughly considering the matter.
Rules are rules.
This is an incredible mess, and Prime Minister Morrison and his Home Affairs Minister Karen Andrews have a hell of a lot of explaining to do.
And in a released transcript from the Border Force questioning, the interviewer asks, are you vaccinated for COVID-19? Novak Djokovic says, I am not. Have you ever had it? Yes, he says, twice. I had COVID in June 2020 and recently I tested positive. PCR, 16th of December.
The boss is back.
Without that diagnosis, he would not have received approval to play. The interviewer explains they have to go through this process, the 20 minutes we have to give you. From Djokovic, shock. You're giving me legally 20 minutes to try to provide additional information that I don't have at 4 o'clock in the morning? I mean, you kind of put me in a very awkward position where I can't call the Director of Tennis Australia. I can't engage with anybody from the Victorian State Government. A late-night mistake by officials that led to a very public backdown. Blake Johnson, 7 News.
Novak Djokovic is racing to be fit in time for Monday's tournament. Andrew McCormack has the latest from Melbourne Park. Andrew, Djokovic spent hours training in the heat today.
Well, Beck, Djokovic was so tired when he got off the plane and endured this detention from Border Force officials that he actually asked to take a nap and then was woken up on a couch in order for Border Force officials to then interview him in the early hours of Thursday morning. He's then spent 5 days in isolation and today really stepped things up. Was on court on Rod Laver Arena in the sun with the roof open for around 30 to 45 minutes, acclimatising himself to the hot conditions. Now, Thursday night is the draw for this year's tournament. Djokovic has just been confirmed as the #1 seed just a short time ago by Australian Open officials. Now, he could request an extra day preparation in order to get himself cherry ripe for his first round match, which could be on Tuesday night. Of course, usually, as is tradition, the reigning champion is usually a heavy part of the draw ceremony and gets the chance to be interviewed. It'll be interesting to see if Djokovic uses that chance to tell his side of the story, Beck.
OK, certainly not the ideal preparation. Andrew McCormack, thank you.
Serbia erupted at the news of Novak's court win as his family spoke about their week of torment. They say they still love Australia despite the latest twist in the visa battle.
They were surrounded by the spoils of a champion tennis player, but the Djokovic's say Novak's chaotic visa challenge is his greatest victory yet.
It's been a battle for all of us. It's not just about Novak, obviously. It's been really tough on us to defend him in every possible way and still do not offend anybody in this process.
The world's press sardined into their Belgrade restaurant as the family expressed their gratitude for the solidarity and support.
Do you have a message for Australia?
We have just pure love for all the world. We love Australia. Novak loves Australia.
If he does play, they find the idea that Novak may not win the Australian Open laughable. The threat of deportation, not so funny.
I'm very worried, but I don't want to think like that. I just hope that it will stay like this. That he will be free and he will play.
And Sally Guy joins us live from Belgrade. And Sally, Scott Morrison has spoken to Serbia's Prime Minister.
They did, in an exchange the Australian government says was constructive. Serbian PM Ana Brnabic sought the call, no doubt for a please explain. She was told the saga was brought about by border policy to protect Australia from COVID-19. Nothing discriminatory. We're told the countries have vowed this will not cause diplomatic problems going forward.
Sally Guy, thank you.
In breaking news, Coles has just announced limits on toilet paper and painkillers. Blake Johnson joins us now. Blake, they're worried about panic buying.
Yes, Beck, Coles in just the past few minutes has told us they are introducing limits for paracetamol, ibuprofen and aspirin. This is because painkillers have been stripped from shelves after people were told they needed to stock up on the over-the-counter drugs in case they get COVID. Customers can only buy 2 packets of painkillers and, yes, we are back to toilet paper rationing, just 1 packet per shopper. Last week, Coles introduced limits on some meat products. Shoppers asked to buy just what they need.
OK, Blake Johnson, thank you.
At least 200,000 Victorians are in isolation, putting extraordinary pressure on workplaces across the state. Businesses are pleading for more help to get through the next few weeks of the Omicron outbreak.
In another sign, the state is struggling to get back on track. Trains, trams and buses are the latest essential services to be derailed by Omicron. 300 public transport services were cancelled today because of a driver shortage. 740 transport staff are currently isolating.
Some services will be disrupted over the next few weeks. So we're continuing to balance the timetable requirements with our staff availability. But we do ask our passengers to be aware that some services are cancelled across the network.
While 76% of retail businesses are missing employees on the shop floor.
I think it's fair to say there's at least 200,000, maybe many more, Victorians who are isolating at home because they're a case or they're a close contact.
The Premier indicating further industries could be added to the list of critical supply chain workers who from tomorrow are no longer required to isolate if they are a close contact and test negative.
Trying to get as many people back to work as quickly as possible off the back of a RAT test rather than having to isolate, the assumption being if you've got a RAT test you're clear.
But the trade union's boss says the change to close contacts is putting workers at risk and is calling on the Prime Minister to urgently provide free rapid tests and more financial support.
When he says that we need to push through Omicron crisis, what that means is all the pressure is back on the essential workers of our country. The current definition means even if you're working right next to someone all day and that person comes down with COVID, you're not considered a close contact.
The state opposition is pushing for an extension of the rent relief scheme to help those businesses now struggling into a third calendar year.
To ensure that the rent doesn't increase during the time when restrictions are imposed on these small businesses.
We simply can't pay the rent. I'm not quite sure how we expect it. If no customers are coming in, there's such a fear in the community. Where are we supposed to get the money?
Almost 38,000 COVID cases were recorded in the past 24 hours. Only 1,000 more infections were registered from PCR tests than rapids. Another 13 Victorians died with the virus and 861 people are receiving hospital care. And the impact of Omicron is still being felt on supermarket shelves across the country. The Deputy Prime Minister issuing a warning to Australians not to hoard.
Well, the first thing I want to say to the Australian people, we are not running out of food, okay? Australia is not running out of food. There's a lot of other, we might run out of toilet paper, but we're not going to run out of food.
Extra vaccination clinics will be set up at schools to get more children vaccinated. Jade Vincent joins us now. The pop-up clinics will be at primary schools, Jade.
Yes, Beck, 30 pop-up vaccination clinics will be rolled out in primary schools across the state in the coming weeks. A full list of participating schools is online, but they include areas such as Casey, Springbank, Hume and Monash. Now, appointments can be made for any child aged 5 to 11 years old. They don't have to attend that participating school. And the state government also announced a $4 million grants program to local GPs and pharmacists to come into these schools and set up mini vaccination clinics to operate after hours. Now, the Premier said today while school might look a little bit different this year, there are no plans to push back the start of term 1. Beck?
Thank you.
Ambulance Victoria has been forced to declare another code red after it was swamped with calls for help overnight. It's just one sign of the extreme pressure on our health system battling to keep up, with more than 4,000 workers forced into isolation.
A code red declared for the second time in a week, an urgent sign our health system is buckling.
The only time that alert is issued is for a thunderstorm asthma situation or the Black Saturdays fires.
Ambulances were in such high demand last night, paramedics had to issue a plea, begging Melburnians to phone a nurse on call for any non-life-threatening emergencies.
At one stage there were 134 cases pending or waiting for an ambulance to get to them. Last week it was 110 cases that were pending.
At least 4,400 health workers are currently in isolation.
It could be upwards of 5,000, maybe even more.
Staff able to keep working, limping to the finish line.
Someone said to me the other day they're crawling towards their annual leave because they really are exhausted.
Balwyn GP Lorraine Baker says so many of her staff have been away, she's had to play the role of doctor, nurse and receptionist all at once.
One member of the team goes down with either the illness or in isolation, then we have to take measures to fill that gap. Obviously, a nurse can't be a doctor and a receptionist can't be a nurse, but you would spread as much of the load as possible.
Hospitals are also under an increasing amount of pressure. The number of beds taken up by COVID patients now at the highest level since the pandemic began.
It's clear-cut that all healthcare services are under extreme pressures, and it's probably appropriate to use the word disaster. Every system is stretched.
Estelle Greeping, 7 News.
James Hird's 6-year exile from the AFL is over, with the Essendon legend accepting a new coaching job with the GWS Giants. In an exclusive interview for 7 News, Hird has revealed he hopes to pass on valuable life lessons to the next generation of stars.
James Hird spent 6 years in the AFL's wilderness.
Couldn't be more impressed with the setup they have and the quality of people that are at the club.
Hird's one-off presentation to GWS leaders in November was an important step, but the consulting role's now formal, a giant leap in a potential more permanent return to the AFL.
And just in part sort of my life journey, which I think for younger players it's good to hear, but also for senior players.
The Premiership captain's experienced football's highs, but cast out by the supplement saga, there's been fears one of football's most sharpest minds was lost to the game.
I'm truly sorry for what you have had to endure.
In his rare interview, the 48-year-old says he can't wait to get started.
Working with people, working with highly motivated men who want to be successful. I think there's I've got my story, I've got knowledge in that area. But seeing them grow and trying to help them.
The consulting role will suit Hird, who still spends much of the year travelling. He part owns a financial fund based in New York.
We're just grateful that he's involved with our football club and he's chosen our football club. And, our young leaders and our leadership group and our 3 captains couldn't be any more excited than to be working with James Hird for season 2022.
Tom Brown, 7 News.
Back to him. Well, one footy superstar has a radical plan to help the AFL avoid COVID chaos, I should say.
Jackie Felgate, it should give some clubs much-needed insurance this season.
That's right, Mike. Yes, it should indeed. Let's go straight to Mitch Cleary, who's live with the details. Mitch, you've spoken exclusively with Patrick Dangerfield.
Well, Jackie, after 2 years of interruptions, the boss of the Players Association says the game must forge on. More than 100 players are currently home isolating. Dangerfield telling 7 News that fans have waited long enough to get back to games, which may see players pulled out of state leagues in order to fulfil the fixture.
That means you're pulling in players from different levels of competition, and that's just what's required to get games completed.
And Jackie, the league has its latest vaccine-hesitant player facing an uncertain future tonight. North Melbourne's Jed Anderson missing from training this week and still in Darwin, yet to receive his second dose after a poor reaction to his first, which only came in late December.
Thank you, Mitch. Also ahead in sport, we speak to Alex Carey as he prepares to keep in Tim Payne territory. And Bernard Tomic's explosive claims in a bizarre courtside rant. It was a forgettable day for the troubled Aussie. I'll have more soon.
That's a lot happening. Thank you very much, Jackie. Victoria's food supplies have taken another big hit. This time it's potatoes. Our crops wiped out by storms. Details next on 7 News.
Plus, a packed party boat sails into a storm.
A pioneering operation as surgeons transplant a pig's heart into a man.
And the 180-million-year-old sea dragon found buried on a beach.
A driver's been charged over a double fatal crash on the Western Highway near Horsham last month. 2 women were killed in the head-on smash. Detectives have now charged a 30-year-old Hoppers Crossing man with dangerous driving causing death and reckless conduct endangering life. He'll face court on Thursday.
Victorians are being warned to brace for a potato shortage after one of the state's major growing areas was hit by a huge storm. Farmers face an anxious wait to see just how bad the damage has been.
Fields of potato farms in the state's west were smashed by last week's severe unseasonal weather. Almost 4 months' worth of rain in 24 hours, washing away crops only planted just before Christmas.
Never seen nothing like this before, no. It's been farming for best of 40 years and it's a total devastation.
The deluge sending millions of dollars down the drain. The industry now bracing for supply issues.
About 50% of Victoria's potatoes come out of this immediate area, and 95% of growers within that region have been affected by this storm.
Concerns it could impact fast food chains.
This area is really critical to the supply of processing potatoes for QSR restaurants, McDonald's, KFC and the like.
There are calls for the federal government to declare a natural disaster, which would open up avenues for farmers to apply for financial support.
All signs suggest that those processes that are unfortunately well known and well worn will kick in.
Because the potatoes are underground, farmers won't know the full extent of the damage until they begin harvest in March. Until then, they'll be putting in extra time and money to give their crops the best possible chance.
Some paddocks might be down that 50%, some might be down more, and some paddocks might only be down 20 to 30%. But we all know from past experience that the yields are going to be down.
Ashley Kanowski, 7 News.
A skipper could be fined after this video of a packed boat on Sydney Harbour. Passengers crowded the front deck of the vessel on Boxing Day for the start of the Sydney-Hobart yacht race. Other boaties watched on in horror.
Yeah, that's how people die.
The New South Wales Transport Minister has ordered an investigation.
Medical science has taken a big leap into a bold new future, with doctors successfully transplanting a pig's heart into a human. The patient is doing well 3 days after surgery, giving hope the world-first operation could change the way lives are saved.
A palpable leap in modern medicine. After 9 hours of heart-stopping surgery, the genetically modified heart of a pig was successfully transplanted. The unorthodox donation saving 57-year-old Dave Bennett's life.
The donor animal was very stable and the organ looks perfect.
In the history of transplantation, no one has ever put a pig heart in a human.
The US patient had no options left.
My dad was on his deathbed.
So far, he has lived for 3 days with the pig heart beating inside his chest. In trials, baboons given the same surgery have been kept alive as long as 9 months.
But whether it's a day, week, month, year, I don't know.
Scientists have worked for decades to figure out how to save human lives with animal organs, as many wait desperately for a donation. Pigs have similar organs to humans, but there's still a real chance the man's body will reject the foreign part.
The pig heart will be attacked by different soldiers in our body.
Still, it has filled hearts around the world with hope.
We're learning a lot every day. So far, we're happy with our decision to move forward. And he is as well. A big smile on his face today.
Serena Andaloro, 7 News.
Well, what started out as a routine maintenance work has led to the discovery of one of the greatest fossils ever uncovered in the UK. Inspecting a drained lagoon, a council worker found the almost complete skeleton of an ichthyosaur known locally as a sea dragon. It's been laying in the mud for almost 200 million years, dating back to the Jurassic period, where it would have been an apex predator.
Well, it certainly feels like the humidity is sticking with us, and Jane Bunn joins us now to explain. And Jane, it's almost like we're in Queensland right now.
Well, Mike, sometimes you don't need to take a Sunshine State holiday, as they send their weather right down to us. The humidity in the air has brought another warm day, and now the nights are warm too. We started on 19 and reached 30. Now, the wind flicked onshore during the afternoon, so it was a few degrees lower then, but still steamy. Today, we had sunshine for much of the afternoon, while several towns across northern Victoria woke to lightning and thunder. Severe storms were blowing through, with large hail, damaging winds and heavy rain. Now, southern Victoria generally missed out on this one, but storms may return to Melbourne late in the week. I'll have the full details on that after sport.
OK, thanks, Jane. Melbourne commuters are headed for more traffic problems. Why we're facing weeks of delay on the Westgate. Details coming up live on 7 News.
Plus, no bull, big mystery as a $100,000 prize animal disappears.
Hear from the heroes who pulled a pilot from the path of a train.
And the high-tech treatment giving hope back to Parkinson's patients.
Drivers will face major delays because of roadworks on the Westgate Freeway starting tonight. Rochelle Brown joins us. And Rochelle, there'll be disruptions for weeks.
That's right, Mike. From 9 p.m. tonight, there will be significant closures on roads, ramps and lanes. Now, those roadworks are for the Westgate Tunnel project, adding extra lanes and upgrading ramps from tonight until the end of February. Closures include the ramp from the M80 Ring Road to the Princes Freeway and a full closure of Williamstown Road in both directions under the freeway. Drivers are being warned delays could be up to 40 minutes.
So please do allow extra time. There will be fully signed detour routes in place during the closures to guide you on your journey.
Drivers can check delays on the Vic Traffic mobile app or on the Big Build website. Mike?
Rochelle, thank you.
Farmers are using a helicopter to look for a missing bull worth more than $100,000. The valuable animal is missing from a property northeast of Melbourne, with fears it may have been stolen.
The gates at this yay farm look secure, but somehow a prized 1-tonne bull is missing.
They've got some high-priced bulls running around.
Cali Angus Stud is home to one of Australia's most expensive bulls, Texas Power Play P613, worth $108,000. Neighbour Harry Lawson says bulls can get lost on big properties. His bull was missing for 18 months before suddenly turning up.
There's lots of nooks and crannies that boy could be hiding, that's for sure.
Livestock thefts have increased as the price of bulls rises.
Those very highly priced animals have got great production figures, which are described by our estimated breeding values, which a lot of cattle producers are looking for when they're buying an animal like that.
If stolen, farmers say the bull would be almost impossible to resell.
They've all got electronic chips, RFIDs, and as I said, they've got permanent freeze brand in them.
The 3-year-old sire's owners have spent the week searching on land and in the sky.
Police say it's possible the bull has just gone walkabout, although with electric fences and hot wires wrapped around this 850-hectare property, escaping would be difficult.
It's hard to have a theory because I think it's really hard to lose a bull that big. It seems really, really odd.
Kathleen O'Connor, 7 News.
A father and daughter are recovering after surviving 2 days stuck up a tree in Queensland's flood zone. Craig Mortison and 9-year-old Kira's car was washed into floodwaters on Friday night. They were able to get out and grab the nearest tree.
The next tree we come across was a decent sized tree with a big fork in it, and I just put my arm up through the fork and just hung on to her, and lucky I had the rope because she broke out of my grip, and then I had to rely on the rope to pull her back to me. And I just stuck her up into the fork of the tree.
Remarkable. They stayed there for the next 2 days until the water receded.
Boris Johnson is facing new controversy over a Christmas lockdown party. A leaked email shows staff were invited to Downing Street when gatherings of more than 2 people were banned at the time. The investigation is looking at other parties held at Mr Johnson's home.
Police who saved a pilot trapped on train tracks after a crash landing say they're all lucky to be alive. Officers hauled the injured man from the wreck seconds before it was wiped out.
I'm grateful to be alive, number one. I'm grateful that the pilot survived as well. Without our teamwork, without all of us pitching in and having the same mindset, he might not have made it.
The officers have been praised for their bravery.
A new treatment is being trialled in Australia for people with Parkinson's disease. Now, it uses laser lights and has so far shown remarkable results, with patients able to get back to gardening and carrying groceries.
For 75 years, Margaret Jarrett has been a trailblazer.
I'm starting a new fashion trend.
But never before in the field of medical science.
I don't really understand how it's happening, but it's happening and that's all I care about.
Now the Parkinson's sufferer is reaping the benefits of new technology that uses rays of light to create rays of hope.
It was a miracle.
Parkinson's is an incurable disease that causes tremors, muscle rigidity, difficulty walking and swallowing, and the loss of the sense of smell. The condition is caused by a lack of the brain chemical dopamine. Half the chemical is produced by microbes in the gut. The laser is believed to reduce inflammation, prompting the natural production of more.
It's something that can mimic the impact of exercise.
Previous trials have been promising, with patients reporting enhanced senses, mood and sleep, as well as improvements to mobility and fine motor skills.
Some people regained their sense of smell, some people have improved sleep, and some people had improved microbiome, so improved gut health.
Based on the success of the initial research, a new, more in-depth trial will now take place here in Sydney. Those already suffering don't need to wait for it to be complete.
It is legal and available and regulated, and it is available for purchase.
A light at the end of a long and painful tunnel. Amelia Brace, 7 News.
What doctors want parents to know about Omicron, and children what to watch out for and how to prepare. That's coming up next in a special family report on 7 News.
Plus the hunt for the dangerous firebug putting homes at risk.
And horses hit the beach with top trainers on the hunt for the next big winner.
Police have launched a fresh appeal to help find the man riding this bicycle. He's accused of deliberately lighting fires that threatened homes in Taylors Lakes a year ago.
There's still an ongoing process in relation to repairing and recovering from that incident, and there's concerns in the area that if it was to occur again, the outcome might be worse.
Police want to catch him before he strikes again this summer.
Plenty of families are worried about COVID spreading through classrooms when children go back to school. Doctors want to reassure parents Omicron is fast spreading but less severe. But it pays to be organised in case COVID hits. Children aged 5 to 11 are rolling up their sleeves to get the jab. But younger kids still can't get vaccinated and parents are anxious.
I was definitely terrified to go to school, go to childcare. They pick up every kind of bug possible.
Doctors say most children don't get very sick with Omicron and it's easily managed at home.
About 1% of children may require some medical attention with COVID. The most significant things we worry about are children with pre-existing medical conditions.
My daughter is now 8 days in and she only had a temperature and a slight cough for the first couple of days. And then my son has pretty well no symptoms.
Even so, families are being urged to prepare. Parents should keep an underarm thermometer, saline drops, age-appropriate pain relief and some Hydrolite handy. And keep an eye out for symptoms like a sore throat.
But most of the time it's just going to be a mild fever, maybe a little bit of a cough. And in many instances, in fact, many of our younger children will have no symptoms.
In babies, it's a fever, a runny nose. They may be sleepier than usual or a little more irritable. And if they are COVID positive, it's recommended you clear their nose using some drops before feeding.
If they were to develop some complications such as breathing very fast, going off their feeds, we would advise them to seek further medical input at that point.
If they test positive, don't panic.
And parents are saying, oh, it's just the same or very similar to a winter virus.
The child and their household contacts must immediately isolate for 7 days. There's also help on offer online and over the phone. From the coronavirus hotline, Nurse on Call, Kids Doc on Call or your GP.
It's not a critical situation. We're encouraging parents and the community to reach out to telehealth via their GP or via a telehealth service.
Doctors say when getting your child to take a rapid antigen test, it's best to sit somewhere comfortable like a couch where you can support their neck.
Going up is painful, always aim down, going low and going slow. I've got my little finger to stabilize my hands on her chin, just going in slowly with a bit of a gentle twirl, going round to the back, 1 to 2 centimeters, twirling, 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 and then slowly coming out, and that's it.
And if that's too hard, they can always get a PCR test. As it stands, there is no vaccine available for children under 5 years of age. Pfizer's hit a couple of roadblocks and is now looking at a 3-dose strategy. If that study is successful, the drug maker plans to seek emergency authorisation from American authorities by the middle of the year. Mike.
Thanks, Beck. Thoroughbreds have swapped the racetrack for the beach as the Magic Millions Carnival got underway on the Gold Coast. And while the jockeys kept crowds occupied surfside, the country's top trainers were focused on finding their next prize winner at the annual yearling sales. Gay Waterhouse getting in early, spending nearly $1 million on a filly.
You hope it wins.
Yes.
It's been another wild day here at the Australian Open. Jackie Felgate, a positive test, but no negative vibes from Nick Kyrgios.
That's right, Beck. Yes, he's refusing to let his COVID case ruin his Grand Slam. The details are next. Also, Bernard Tomic's bizarre COVID rant in a qualifying disaster. Patrick Dangerfield's bold plan to keep the footy season alive. Alex Carey ready to hit back at his critics for the 5th test in Tassie. And the Stars fall in controversial fashion in the Big Bash. Welcome back. As Novak Djokovic took to centre court at Melbourne Park, Aussie Nick Kyrgios remained in isolation. Returning now to Andrew McCormack. Hello, Macca. He's not giving up hope of playing in the Australian Open.
Well, that's right, Jack. Nick Kyrgios is hoping to be in Melbourne by Sunday at the latest. That would give him just enough time to arrive before the first round starts on Monday. Unfortunately, though, he's stuck in isolation in a hotel room in Sydney. He was trying to secure private residence with a tennis court to serve out his 7-day isolation, but will have to be stuck indoors for now. This was Kyrgios a short time ago, remaining upbeat as one of the biggest draw cards for the 2 weeks here at Melbourne Park.
I actually don't feel too bad at the moment, and I'm taking all necessary precautions. Obviously not ideal a week out of the Oz Open, but I'm going to do everything in my power to feel okay and get out there and hopefully give you all a show.
Now, Bernard Tomic, his campaign here at Melbourne Park is over in the first round of qualifying. Went down in straight sets today. And he had, in recent weeks, renewed hope of maybe a bit of a comeback for Bernard, who he talked of being motivated and found his passion again for tennis, even changed things like his diet and his training regime. But it seems Melbourne's Omicron wave has claimed potentially another victim.
For sure, in the next 2 days, I will test positive. I'm telling you. I will buy you dinner if I don't test positive in 3 days. Otherwise, you buy me dinner. I cannot believe nobody is getting tested. They're allowing players to come on the court with rapid tests in their room. Come on. No official PCR testing.
Just another bizarre chapter in the world of Bernard Tomic, of course, a former top 20 player. Jack?
OK, thank you very much, Macca. New Aussie wicketkeeper Alex Carey has responded to criticism of his form. Carey's told 7 News he's ready to answer his doubters on the home turf of predecessor Tim Payne.
Last night's late arrival changed dinner plans and made today's day off even more welcome. But coming this far in these COVID conditions, it's been an Ashes series played in extraordinary good spirits.
I think everyone involved's handling it really well. You've got to be flexible.
In his first Test series, Alex Carey's learning the ruthless scrutiny that comes with the Australian wicket-keeping job. A few missed chances and lean run with the bat won't shake him.
There's lots of opinions around, and everyone's entitled to have their say when you drop a catch. But that's sport. You go out there to do your best. I can't wait to get out there on Friday.
There is one giant figure missing. Tim Payne, the former Australian captain, has actually chosen to leave Tasmania instead of attending a Test match he was so instrumental in bringing here.
It's a bit bittersweet with Tim. It's a shame that he can't be here.
Carey knows any slip-ups here won't be forgiven by a Tassie public. Still furious, Payne had to resign over a sexting complaint.
I guess to get the opportunity in difficult situations is not ideal, but to be given that opportunity is something I'm really proud of.
Underwater late last week, Bellerive Oval looked a picture today. The green tinge will have pacemen salivating again.
I like them to be a little bit confused, actually.
From the curator, politicians, to youngsters like George McNeice, a cricket mad boy fighting brain cancer, finally having an Ashes test in their hometown is as big as it gets. Do you think this could be something that makes you guys want to play in the Ashes yourself one day? Yes! In Hobart, Matt Carmichael, 7 News.
The Melbourne Stars fell victim to a Big Bash controversy this afternoon in their clash with the Scorchers. Perth batter Laurie Evans ended the 10th over, scoring 2 runs, and incorrectly faced the first ball of the next over, where he smashed 17 runs.
Dave Hussey, and once again, flipping over, leg side for 6, and it's Evans on this occasion.
The Scorchers set a whopping 196 in his return to the side from COVID. Glenn Maxwell failed with the bat, holding out for just 5. As the Stars managed just 149, it's 47 runs short. Cats veteran Tom Hawkins is the latest footy star to test positive to COVID. It's got his Geelong teammate Patrick Dangerfield thinking about ways the AFL can avoid more chaos this season.
COVID has hit the AFL pre-season, but for now, the show goes on.
Every single one of our players is presented back with PBs, and 40 PBs, amazing. That's what everyone says, isn't it? No.
Cat spearhead Tom Hawkins at home isolating, one of more than 100 players missing on return to training.
While it's got its challenges for us, we've got to forge ahead. It's going to be interesting to see how it goes once games start, and we've seen that with AFLW.
The prospect of top-up players from state leagues firmly on the agenda for March. The AFL keen to learn from the AFLW model, where teams can call on up to 5 train-on players per club, and leagues like the Big Bash, which allows access to a centralised replacement player pool, and the NBA, where teams are able to sign players to 10-day contracts.
I think if we get to that position, I think fans have waited long enough over the past 2 years, sitting at home, not being able to attend and watch sport. We've got a product to present and games to play.
As dozens of players prepare to return from COVID, clubs will monitor heart rates and in some cases put players through ECG tests for the heart.
I think with any viral illness, there's always a chance that you'll get viral inflammation of the heart. And if there's any indication at all of heart involvement, then you would investigate them.
Mitch Cleary, 7 News.
That's all for sport, guys, and we wish our Tom Hawkins, very good friend of both of us.
Yeah, look,
all
it's
the best.
better now than getting it in August, September. That's
Indeed,
right.
you've got to time it now.
Yeah, enough of the Geelong stuff, ladies. Thank you. Jane returns now with more on our weather. And Jane, what's on for the rest of the week?
Well, Mike, there's steamy sunshine. That's what we're looking at tomorrow and on Thursday. Then thunderstorms return. Full details next. Hello again. Humid air is making it warm and it's remaining muggy until early next week. Now, this air brings warm nights. It was 19 this morning. We had a sheet of cloud overhead, but storms remained north of the Melbourne area. The afternoon had bright sunshine and we rose up to 30 degrees. The storms began overnight and they continued in mainly northern Victoria today, damaging winds, large hail and very heavy rain. But all of that has generally cleared up now. Just the odd bit left around Malakuta and also up in the far northwest corner. The remains of Cyclone Tiffany likely to re-intensify as it's now over the warm waters of the Gulf. But as we keep our eye on that, there is a trough near Gippsland tomorrow and another one just to our west. So unless you're in Gippsland tomorrow, it is generally dry with lots of humid sunshine. The southeast looks covered in cloud thanks to these onshore winds with showers streaming through. Then there may be thunderstorms in the far northwest corner later. That is the beginning of our next big weather system. Now this will affect us on Thursday and Friday, and now that it's slowing down, it is still here on Saturday. It'll be areas of widespread rain with hit and miss thunderstorms. Now, if you get a storm, it'll bring torrential rain as the pattern is slow moving and it is starting to be fed by moisture from that cyclone. Now, we're looking at a few months' worth of rain in just one storm. That is not out of the question. Around the nation tomorrow, just the odd shower in Brisbane and Sydney, long sunny breaks. Canberra, the risk of an afternoon storm. Hobart cloudy but looks dry underneath that. Adelaide, still hot and humid, the risk of an afternoon storm. Perth, it's dry heat in the sunshine. To Victoria, the southeast has the wet weather. Grey skies from about Traralgon eastwards. We've got showers passing through, a local storm up on the ranges. The rest warm to hot, humid, lots of sunshine. In the far northwest has the risk of storms. You can see the blue area there at night. Closer in, if you like humidity, you'll love tomorrow. If you like dry air, you'll find it a bit sweaty. There's no wet weather. We have lots of sunshine and a breezy southeasterly wind. The city gets warm and humid. We start on 19. It goes all the way up to 31. Expect lots of sunshine tomorrow. To the 8-day outlook Thursday, warm, still humid. And now with that system slowing down, it should actually be dry all through the day on Thursday. But thunderstorms, they are a risk at night after a hot top of 32 in that humidity. On Friday, the low is 21. We're looking at storms possible at any time during the day. They could bring some big falls. That continues into the early hours of Saturday morning, then showers slowly clear out. Then we'll take a bit of a break and look at those overnight minimums. The humidity finally disappears early next week. It's warm and humid once again tomorrow. We are 31 and there is lots of sunshine out there.
Okay, it's a bit sweaty.
Crank up the air conditioner. Now, here's what's on Sunrise tomorrow.
Thanks, Mike and Beck. When you wake up in the morning, getting ahead on the property ladder.
How to buy your dream home sooner, the new help for families.
That's tomorrow on Sunrise.
See you in the morning, Melbourne.
And that is 7 News for this Tuesday. The Big Bash is coming up next.
For now, from the 7 News team, have a great night.